Welcome back to Season 2 of It Takes Heart. I'm Kate.
And I'm Sam. And we look forward to sharing more incredible stories of healthcare professionals making an impact across Australia.
I saw registered nurse on my shirt. I thought,
Here we go.
I'm
It's
in.
been a long time.
I am part of the cool club. And it was. I put my scrubs on and I thought, whoa, I don't know what I'm in for. I said, but I've got a pen and I've got the time and I'll be ready to go. I remember getting this job at a prison. And I remember rocking up and you have to have this belt with like a radio and an alarm and keys. And I just thought I was the shit. I was like, yeah. People who have 1 million followers follow you back. You're like, oh my God, they know who I am. I just go up to them because I just think we're friends. Like, I love what you're doing. Just go up and talk to them because at the end of the day, they're still a normal person.
We care for the land and sea.
We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land of which we meet, who for centuries have shared ancient methods of healing and cared for their communities. We pay our respects to elders past and present.
Today's guest is somewhat of a celebrity who has just returned from the red carpet at the TikTok Awards in Sydney. I have so much to ask about that. This small town country boy began his journey performing in musical theatre, which landed him a coveted role at Disneyland Paris in 2020. But when the pandemic cut that dream short, he suddenly found himself working as a COVID marshal in WA. Originally from Kalgoorlie, Hamish Briggs has now found his passion in the world of remote travel nursing. But there is so much more to Hamish than nursing. He's a drag queen, a content creator with over 100,000 social media followers, and one incredibly positive, fun and inspiring guy. I feel like I need to sing this. Welcome to It Takes Heart.
Welcome to It Takes Heart. And honestly, so excited to be here with you girls today. I know we're going to have a lot of fun. We've got a lot to talk about.
That's so much to
Let's jump into it.
I need to jump into the TikTok Awards. I am showing my age here. I'm from like the MySpace era. My only friend on Instagram is Kate and the company.
Fabulous.
How is there a TikTok Awards? What is it? What do you do? Are you all just on your phones TikToking?
I think.
Does anyone look up?
Well, that's the thing. You know, a lot. You're on your phone the whole time. You're filming. Everyone's taking photos. And I think when you enter that space, the first time is quite daunting because you are on the red carpet. People are taking photos of you. You're getting like your management team to take photos of you and videos so that you can post later on. But everyone's in that one space. So you don't feel like you're the only one doing it. Where like if you go to Woolies and you're filming, you're like, I'm the only person filming at Woolies. We're there.
But you do it.
Of course you do it. But every single person is doing it. So I think now with social media and how it's growing, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So the TikTok Awards have been on in Australia for a few years now.
And are you nominated to how
do you go?
So you get an invite. So obviously my management team, I'm with Amplify for social media, and they would be one of the biggest kind of management teams for social media. The owner in that has been around for like 10 years in social media. So quite large in that sense. And I think like, yes, TikTok is looking at what you're posting and your viewers and your engagement and what you are putting out there to the world, but also your management does play a big part in it. Like it's a big hustle industry. And like the weeks leading up to TikTok Awards, I knew this year, after my 12 months being on social media, that was my goal. TikTok Awards, me on the red carpet. Hello, girls. Let's get into it. But I, every single day, was on the phone to my management. Do I have an invite? Have you realised I really want to go?
Have you got one yet?
Please.
What do I need to do?
And they were like, yes, yes, yes. And I was like, but I haven't received it. Like, I need to see it now. And they were like, trust us. You've got one. I said, no, but I just need a confirmation because I don't want to come to Sydney in a fabulous outfit and not have an invite.
And you have to get to a certain level to be invited?
Well, that's the thing. I think a lot of people
We have to know the right people.
Honestly, I think it is knowing the right people in a way, but Amplify have a big part with TikTok Australia.
Yeah.
So I guess you could say, yes, it's kind of a guarantee that you will get an invite, but you also have to work hard. You're not just going to, like Amplify are a great management, but they're not going to take on any Joe Blow because just so you can go to the TikTok Awards. Like, although that's one night of the year for us all to celebrate the hard yards we've done that year, after TikTok Awards ends, no one's remembering what happened at TikTok Awards. We all continue posting every day and doing our thing until next year. So
is there like best newcomer?
Yeah.
So they have like TikTok Creator of the Year. They had a food one this year. They had a For Good one. They have makeup. Well, yeah, no healthcare industry one, but that would probably fall under the For Good one. So
Yeah,
they have
right.
all these different, and they have a comedy one, and then they've got about, I think it's 5 creators within each area that are nominated by TikTok. So TikTok actually choose them that I know of. And then it's up to that creator to post the living hell out of it so that all their followers and fans vote for them.
So what you're saying is that you went onto TikTok and within a year you got here. So
Yeah.
we can do this.
We could be at the podcast awards.
Yeah.
So hang
maybe
on,
we
are
need
we
a
going to the
goal.
TikTok awards or the
Yeah.
podcast awards?
Both.
We'll do
Let's do
both.
everything, everything.
We'll
We're going
do
to both.
Yeah.
Can I ask, was there like, there's got to be like one outrageous story from that night?
I think when I look at it as a whole, I could talk to anyone, right? Where a lot of people get quite nervous around people who have a large following or people they look up to. I, in a way, am very used to networking and getting to where I want by talking. It's like I will talk the house off anyone to get where I want. So when you're following people and when they follow you back, it's always so exciting. Like when people who have 1 million followers follow you back, you're like, oh my God, they know who I am. And then when you see them, I just go up to them because I just think we're friends. Like, I love what you're doing. And then they know you. And that I think is better rather than being like, oh my God, like, hi, can I get a photo?
Yeah,
That's stuff boring, you know. Just go up and talk to them because at the end of the day, they're still a normal person. They just do this as a full-time job and have a following like no other.
So who's the person or the people that you really were excited to see?
I think Luke and Sassy Scott, they're quite large on social media. And yes, we have spoken in the past, but it was kind of nice to meet them at the TikTok Creator Camp and the TikTok Awards and just talk like we had known each other a really long time. Like I got on with them really well.
You're about to say, who are they?
I'd leave that to you. The Content Creator Camp.
Yes.
What's that?
So Content Creator Camp, from what I can understand, is the day before the TikTok Awards. TikTok put on an event and they basically go through like the latest tips and tricks for you to grow your brand, make the most money, get your name out there. But it's in a way hush-hush for those people there. It's not known knowledge.
Yeah.
A lot of people who have been in the past say sometimes it's great. You learn things that you're like, whoa, that's incredible. Other times it's like, yeah, that's, you know, we understand that you've got to be captivating in the first 3 seconds or people are going to scroll. TikTok is a 5-second job. If you can't get someone's attention in 5 seconds, we don't care. Boring, swiping on. Unlike, you know, so you're like, ooh,
next topic.
But like Instagram, where we put
Have we
a lot
talked
of
too long
effort
around
in,
this now?
Yeah.
Like Instagram, we do put a lot of effort in what we're going to post. You know, we want to look good in that photo because people are going to continue seeing it when they go on your kind of grid.
Yeah.
Where TikTok.
Next.
And I think if people haven't seen it, like if your views are terrible, well, then no one's seen it, so who cares?
Yep.
You know, rather than getting upset that, oh, it only got 2,000 views. Well, no one saw it. So, you know, it does obviously it doesn't matter that much. But it's a 5-second job in a way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right, over that. Kalgoorlie.
5 seconds. Next.
Cow,
Like, we've got to keep this moving,
Am I
otherwise
allowed to
people will
drink
tune
on
out.
You're allowed to have a
Yeah,
drink.
you can have a drink.
Well, we don't know. We've never been shut down for it, so it's only water
It's
in
only
there.
water,
that
girls.
you
It's only
know.
water.
It's a
just
very,
to-
very good savvy bee. That's why it's clear.
So I want to talk about Kalgoorlie.
Yes.
So grew up in Kalgoorlie.
Yeah.
We place a lot of healthcare candidates out that way. What was it like? Tell us about life growing up.
If there's one thing I could say, I wouldn't change anything about growing up rurally. I think it has set me up for the person I am today and for the challenges that I face being a very flamboyant gay male.
Stop.
You? No.
Who? Me?
What?
No, my wife's outside, 3 kids. But in a way that I had very supportive parents, but not parents that would, you know, baby me. If I come home and said, oh, so-and-so's been really mean at school, mum would be like, not my problem, sort it out. You know, it wasn't like, oh, well, I will talk to his mother. And, you know, it was never that. My parents are caring, but not in that aspect.
Mollycoddling.
Yeah. They'll help us with absolutely everything in the world, but they're never going to blow wind up our ass, you know, ever. So I think growing up there was great for me. I always danced. That's what I did.
Did you feel like you could be yourself?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think my age group, like all those babies born in 1999, were amazing.
1999.
God, I was graduating.
I know it's hard to tell.
We were getting our MySpace ready.
And I was like coming into the world.
Yeah, right.
But do you know what? I think growing up, always dancing, I was always in the newspaper. You know, Hamish wins this trophy. Hamish is off doing this thing. So everyone in the town always knew me as the boy that danced. That's all it ever was. I tried football, hated it. You know what I mean? But Mum wouldn't let me quit because she said, no, that's bad sportsmanship. I said, Mum, I'm on the sideline, everything.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to miss out on
Bring
me.
the oranges.
Bring the oranges, yeah.
Honestly. So growing up there taught me in a way to have really big balls because you have to stand up for yourself in this world. And I think then it's allowed me to go places where people would never venture or never feel comfortable going because there's all this stereotype of being gay. You can't do, not that you can't do it, but you can't go here and feel safe. You can't work in mining and feel really, you know, powerful and all that. Yes, you can. I think there's like, once we get over that, there's a whole world out there that you can go and do things. You can go, why not go there? Why? There's no gays. Whoopie-doo. I love being the only gay in the village. Yeah. Oh, I love it. You know, and people know, and I love that. And like when I walk into a pub, people know, oh, he's gay. Yeah. And I love it because I love when people stare in a way that I think I'm very happy and confident to stand here and order my savvy beat at the bar while you get your, you know, your bluey tins, whatever you know. I don't drink beer, so I don't know.
A Foster's? Is it a Foster's in a blue tin?
Maybe, or like an emu export. Yeah, get an emu.
Oh.
A bush chook.
A bush chook. I think a bush chook, a bin chook.
And I think that's for anyone. I think you don't have to be, you know, the only gay in the village for someone to feel uncomfortable going into a certain environment. I think lots of us just don't have the confidence, full stop, to go into an unfamiliar setting, whether it be the TikTok Awards or a really outback pub where there's locals everywhere.
What was it, an emu chook?
What
was it?
Bush chook.
A bush chook. Sorry, I'm back on the. Is that a shot I need to get at the Christmas party? Can we get some bush chooks?
No, it's like a terrible red beer. My brother drinks it.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, but.
Can I ask then, Disneyland Paris?
Yes.
Like, I mean, obviously you just said you were always in the news. You were the dancing boy from Kalgoorlie. Was that the dream?
The dream of mine was to be in stage shows.
Yeah.
So I obviously started dancing at 4. I danced my entire childhood. I moved to Perth when I was 15. So this January marks 10 years out of my home, like when I left my home.
Mm-hmm.
So you left on your own?
Left, and I moved in with another family in Perth.
Wow.
From Kalgoorlie. So I've been out of home 10 years, but I moved to Perth. I studied full time and then I got signed up with Jeep Management in Sydney, and then I relocated when I was 18 and just hustled every audition, every job. I think I was like 18. I went to like a Magic Mike audition. I was like, and I said to my manager, I said,
watched him.
You would have been the show. You were auditioning
at a Magic Mike audition.
Honestly,
I still try to say to my husband, can you just do them up the hallway?
It was the most awkward audition of my life. Like you had to do the routine and then like take your shirt off. But I was this like scrawny little like 18-year-old, and I thought none of that is sexy. You know what I mean?
So Disneyland Paris, what was your role there before we get into the nursing bit?
I was a tap dancer in Mickey's Christmas Big Band. So it was a tap show. They basically only hired Australians. So out of about 500 boys that auditioned, they took 5 of us. And we were over there for 4 months. We would do 25 shows a week.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a huge, huge, huge show. But all live. It was like about a 40-minute show. So you had singers, then obviously the Disney characters, and then us tap dancers and a 20-piece live orchestra. So went over there. The French are completely different when it comes to performing arts. Like if you didn't have your Mickey smile on, they'd start the music again.
Oh, wow.
Like one person drops their smile, boom.
Start again.
Yeah. But obviously like I got that job, and that was my first international job. And I thought, this is it. My career's about to take off. You know, we were looking at cruise ships when I come back, and then COVID happened and I lost everything. So we got to finish that contract. I got back in January of 2020.
Just before.
Yeah,
lockdowns.
so that was like, we were over there.
Where did you go back to, Perth or Kalgoorlie?
Back to Sydney.
Okay.
And then I was in Sydney for maybe 6 weeks. And over that like period, once COVID had come to Australia, I lost all my jobs in a week. Every day would be a new phone call being, that's cancelled, this bar's closed, you know, whatever it would be. And then that was like, oh my God, I've got nothing.
Yeah,
and
2020, no one was out seeing stuff, were they?
Nothing. And being in Sydney where they were doing suburb blocks. You know, I was applying for jobs to be like a tomato picker up in like far north Queensland, because I was like, I will do anything. Like I was ringing IGAs, Woolies, and they were all like, we've got enough staff. Like I said, I will pack boxes. Like I would do anything, because obviously I had to make a living and I had to pay rent. And I was like, I've gone from like this massive high of living overseas and doing what I've worked so hard to do to now back at square one, where I've got, and as a dancer, you never have a backup because it's your life.
Unless
to
it's
be
a
on
backup
it.
dancer.
Yeah. for like Nicki Minaj or something.
Yeah. No, you need the backup dance, not be the backup
Well,
dancer.
that's right now.
This
But
is it.
I think like you work so hard to be on that stage, and you know, it's not the most amazing money, but you're not doing it like that's what you've
the
worked so
passion.
hard for.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like that was the first thing to go, you know.
Yeah.
Was performing arts and clubs and little singing shows. That was like, no, can't have you all sitting together, out you go. So when I lost all that, I was like, I've got nothing, like not one thing. So it kind of put a lot of things into perspective. And then it was a Sunday. My mum rang me and she said, they're closing the WA border on the Wednesday. What are you going to do? And I said, oh, well, I don't know. I'll just stay here. And she said, yeah, but you've got nothing. You've got no one over there. Like my friend's mum had to send me toilet paper because there was none in my suburb. So she sent me toilet paper from an hour away. And I said, well, righto, then I'll pack up and I'll drive to Kalgoorlie. Now at a Kia Rio at this point, I had just spent all this money on food. So I gave that all to my neighbours. And this was, mum rang me at like 11 and by 3 o'clock I was on the road to Kalgoorlie.
Wow.
And I had no idea how I was getting to Kalgoorlie. I had no idea what the roads were like.
You hadn't done that drive before.
Never.
Yeah.
And like in a Kia
little
Rio, I
Kia,
packed
yeah.
a tiny suitcase. I left
With your toilet paper?
Yeah, everything in Sydney. And I put a post up, and then obviously all the mums and everyone got on board and were like, no, you've got to go this way. Oh, now they're closing the border 3 hours earlier. And I said to mum, I said, you log on my Facebook and tell people I'm going to make it and to stop messaging me because my phone won't stop. People were calling and messaging and, you know, so I just set off on this and I did it in 2.5 days.
And
I
you
got
got
to
there.
the border for an hour to spare.
And then where did the COVID marshalling come in?
Yeah, very interesting. So I moved back home and had no job. And I was like, this is boring. So I was on the dole and I hated that. Free money's great, but it's not that exciting, you know. And then my friend Abby, she got this job at BHP as a project, I don't know, some sort of plant operator. And I thought, well, if she can do it, I can do it. So I took my dance CV into this recruitment agent in Cal and I said, Robin, I will do anything. And obviously the last job on there is Paris Disney, tap dancer.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, I don't have much to work with here. And I said, you'll find me a job because I need a job. I'm going mad. So every day, 4 times a day, I'd give her a call. And on the Friday, she called me and she said, Hamish, I've got you a job. And I said, perfect. What is it? And she said, you're going to be a COVID marshal at the BHP nickel smelter. And I said, I don't know what that is, but I love the idea of it.
Sounds great.
She said, you'll start on Monday. It's 8-hour shifts, you know, 4 a.m. to whatever, and then an afternoon shift to do the night shifters. I said, no, that sounds really good. So I went and got my high-vis outfit and
Outfit.
Mum was
Costume.
my little cosy. Mum was like, go tell the people you're doing a diesel mechanic apprenticeship so we can put it on the book. So I didn't have to pay for it. I said, like they're going to believe that. But anyway, and I said, oh, I'm just doing my diesel apprenticeship. Like I need some stuff. And the lady was like, well, normally people would pick those boots there. And I turned around and saw these beautiful blue boots. Beautiful. And I said, I'll have them. And she goes, oh, not many people pick them. And I said,
That's
I'm not
exactly
many
right,
people,
yeah.
girl. So I rocked up and I started this kind of COVID marshalling job where I would like go out there with my face shield on, take the truckie's temperature and open up the buzz, like the boom gate, have a good day, mate, you know, and you would do it for about 2 hours and then sit there doing nothing because everyone's in work.
Yeah.
And it would be the odd truck or the odd delivery would kind of come up and you would do. But from there, who managed us was the emergency services coordinator. Now, I went to school with his daughters, and that's the best part about being back in Kalgoorlie. Everyone knows me. You know everyone. So you will always find a job. And Ken said to me, oh, Hamish, have you ever thought about being an emergency service officer? I said, Ken, I've just gone from dancing with Mickey Mouse. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, well, you know, that's like your road crash rescue, vertical rescue, bit of medical, you know, listing all these like real butchy things. And I thought, oh, not really. Like it doesn't really tickle my fancy.
What's the
Even though I'm in my
costume?
high vis, I'm
Yeah,
not
my
sure.
cosy. And he was teaching me to do like tie ropes for rope rescue and do all these knots and like butterflies and whatever. And I rang my manager, my dance manager, and I said, will COVID last longer than 3 months? Because that was my idea. I'd be back in WA 3 months, back in Sydney doing exactly what I was doing. You know, cruise ship, here I come was my goal.
Yeah.
And he said, Hamish, they are cancelling things for the next 2 years. Like this is going to last a long, long, long time. And I said, well, I've got an opportunity now to kind of try something that I would never, ever try in my life and make a lot of money. And he said, well, just do it. You're 20. So I was like, okay, I took my super out. I did my Cert 3 in Mines Rescue, which is like a 3-week intensive course. I did my Certificate 4 in healthcare pre-ambulance, which was like the lowest medical course you needed for this job to be an ESO. And then I did my drug and alcohol screening ticket and kind of finished all that. And again, it was a Friday. My Cert 3 finished. I got my little certificate and Ken rang me and said, oh, I've been made redundant, but I've got a job out in Ravensthorpe, which is 6 hours from Cow. Do you want a job? I said, yeah, I'll take a job there.
Yeah.
And rocked up on this mine site with him. This was like real mining. I had to live there for a week. You know, go to the little cafeteria, eat the terrible food. Yeah. And that was my job. And I was like, I don't know what I've got myself into. I was so nervous to go into this cafeteria because it's all like real butchy men. And I was like, oh, hi everyone. Yeah. Oh, what do we do? Because no one tells you. No one goes, oh, the plates are over there, you know, and they don't walk you through it. It's very daunting because you walk in and everyone just stares. And
what
like,
does nervous Hamish look like? Like, are you still you and you're just rolling
because I'll
in,
just
or
make
you,
a joke
you know,
out of something.
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh, where's the plates? You know, oh, where do you get a plate from? And then, you know, someone will feel like sad for me and be like, oh, they're over there. You know, so I'm like, thank you. And it was from that moment that I started this job as being a medic on a mine site. And I had no idea there was a medic on a mine site until I was one. And when I mean I didn't know one thing, I didn't know one thing.
And because, you know, to do that sort of work, you sort of need to be good with, you know, being able to look at blood and, you know, all of that sort of thing. Like, not everyone, like I don't know that I could do things like that. How did you?
I've always loved helping people. Always. I would create shows to do at nursing homes. I would, you know, go to the Christmas ladies' lunch in Kalgoorlie at the Pensioners Club and sing. It's always been my thing to kind of help people and make people smile. And I've always had a massive interest in old people and a massive interest in our Indigenous healthcare and Indigenous people per se. Like, that was always me as a little kid. So kind of going into this, I thought, well, I see it being a medic or a nurse as your one-man show. It's you do your thing, you've got your patients, you know, in a way, fake it till you make it, because you don't want that patient to see that you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. Act like you know what you're doing, leave the room, have a discussion with someone that does know what they're doing, walk back, and it's like, you know, you don't be like, oh, I wouldn't have a clue, you know, because then they're like, oh, now I'm panicking.
Yeah, I feel unsafe.
So rocking up, I think I was very blessed with kind of who I am to say, hey, girls, look, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything about this. The girls had seen me on like, they'd Googled me on Instagram and thought, oh, God, this boy's not going to last 5 seconds here. And we just made the best friendship ever. And I said, all I want is to be good at this job. I want to know what I'm doing. I said, because this is so far from what anything I've ever done or known. And I said, that's my one goal. And they said, oh, well, we'll teach you everything we know. And these two girls who just put me through the absolute ringer, like they would fake emergencies. They would get the boys to like pretend they're having a heart attack and I would think it was real.
Wow.
Yeah. So many times they would run these little scenarios and I would be like,
don't get the defibrillator.
I know, right?
And until the point where I would like,
and
they'd be like, stop, just kidding. And I remember one day like someone come in and I was like, nah, I'm over this. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And they said, no, this is a real one.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, sorry, love.
Sorry, let's go.
But I was on my live the other night and I said, do you ever remember the moment that you first do an ECG? Now, that is the easiest task ever for a nurse. You do 50 million of them a day. Boom, boom, boom. Chuck the dots and leads on. Ripper. But the first ever time, I wouldn't even know what an ECG was. Blood pressure? What's a blood pressure? Like all these things that I had like started to learn. And I think I've come into it as technically like a glorified first aider is what the job was.
Yeah.
Unlike with nursing where you learn what an ECG is and a blood pressure in your first year, you don't learn that at your first aid course, you know.
Did you then go on and get a nursing qualification?
I loved it.
This?
I fell in love. I did 6 months of this job and I loved the medical side. I hated the other side of it. It was too butchy for me.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I don't want to drive a fire truck, Dale.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I loved the medical side that I wanted to become a paramedic.
Right.
And I didn't get in because I never finished year 12. So then one of the girls said, oh, well, there's so many more jobs as a nurse. Why don't you apply for nursing? And I thought, well, okay. So I applied with Charles Darwin so that I could study online and continue working full-time on the mine site.
Yeah.
The one thing I was like is I'm not rocking up to a uni to watch a lecture. Boring. I'll fall asleep, you know. So I applied and I never paid my fee. And I thought, oh, random. Like, I feel like I should have heard by now. And I rang the uni 2 days into the semester and I said, hi. And they said, oh, you didn't pay your fee, but if you pay it now, we'll just chuck you in the course.
Oh.
So then I got in and I did my Bachelor of Nursing with Charles Darwin, and I continued working week on, week off, or 3 weeks on, 1 week off in the mines, so I could pay for my degree, go on placement wherever I wanted to go, and still learn and use medical skills my entire 3 years. So it's not like I had another job and had no medical background. I got to do that
You're
every
already
single
doing
day.
it.
And did you have any ideas through that process of once you have your degree, what next?
My main passion is Indigenous health. That's all my placements were based around Indigenous healthcare. I never wanted to do a metro placement. I never really wanted to work in predominantly white hospitals. I think for me, I just have a huge passion in that, and I love being out in the bush. I love that community feel and knowing everyone. I want to know bloody Susie at Woolies. You know, I love that.
Yeah.
That's just who I am. And like I said, I can talk till the cows come home. So I've always said, like, once I became a nurse, emergency 100% is what I love doing. I like the aspect that I can help you and then send you on your way, rather than I like seeing the patient every day, but I love that we are doing what first comes in the door, and then we get you ready enough to go to your next location. And I always have known that I wanted to do rural and remote. Like, as you all know, I've now moved metro.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. You've gone metro.
What brought you to the Gold Coast?
The Gold Coast, but then you're going from the Gold Coast.
Yeah, so obviously once I became a nurse, I got offered a job in Kalgoorlie straight away and organised all that. And I started in the ED and kind of float nursing there, which was amazing because that was my last placement. So I did that, and then I moved up to the Kimberley region. So I did Derby Hospital, I then did Halls Creek Hospital, and then I came back to Derby to do prison nursing, which we'll get into a bit later.
I was going to say, we need to talk about that, but hang on, we can do the boot,
And then, being like coming up to my year where I'd been in the remote setting, I thought, everyone raves about metro. Am I missing out on something? Am I missing out on the fact that I'm not seeing, big road pileups on a freeway and strokes and all these kind of things that don't often happen out in the bush that are happening every single second of the day in the metro hospitals. And in a way, I was really enjoying my social media, but it is hard to do that from a remote setting because I do want to go to events and I do want to make content with other people. The content
is limited.
And being in, say, Halls Creek, it's not a one flight to Sydney. It's, a drive to Broome, a flight to Perth, it's a whole day to get there and probably about $2,500. So I thought to myself, well, why not? Let's go apply for an ED job at Australia's busiest ED. And I got it, and it sort of brought me back over east, which I'm very happy about. I love being over here because I am more accessible to the world. I love being in the bush, but I now have the opportunity to whiz down to Sydney and say go to an event. Metro as such is just not my vibe. I think personally, from an outside point of view, we, in a way, have a larger skill set in a rural setting because you don't have that button on the wall to press it and 20 people and specialists come running.
And I think that's the thing in a metro setting. Kind of always got someone more experienced than you standing over you.
Yep.
Always.
And you've got to do your job. That's it. We're in a rural setting. You've got to do the job of 3 people because you don't have the staff or, agency, right? You don't know everyone's skill set. So where my great skill set might be airway, your great skill set might be airway too, but you only want to do airway. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm happy to do something else where other people will put their foot down. I'm not doing anything else. Where when they do the rostering for Metro, you're that role and that's what you do and you don't step outside that role. So I think we do have a larger skill set out in the bush. And that's what I'm missing Metro. And we don't have all the divisions of ED. You don't have a subacute. You don't have an acute. You have one area. You get kids, you get old ladies, you get really sick people, you get people who don't need to be there and could go down the road to the GP. You get that all in one day where when you're in Metro, you could be in subacute and that's your category 5s all day. People who could have probably gone to the GP but have come here. And I feel like I'm missing out on those skills where I'm using my critical thinking a lot more, or I'm being able to chat with the doctor on a phone rather than a doctor coming in, doing his job, and then they're like, right, he needs fluids. It's like, I would have loved to assess that patient, had a discussion, and then
You can learn so
Learn
much from each experience.
So now I obviously have
the best
decided
of
to
both.
kind of step down from my metro. And I know I've only been here like just under 3 months, but I sat down with myself the other day and I thought, what do I really love about my job? And it's my rural aspect. It's my connection with community. It's going to places people wouldn't normally go to. And it's putting myself in the deep end in a safe way.
Yep.
You know, I would never do something to harm someone, but I learn by putting myself in that situation to then be like, perfect. Like, you know, now I know the steps of this and let's discuss what happened and why it probably could have gone better, rather than starting at the bottom and working your way up, you know, over 2 years to get somewhere where I probably don't want to be, where I can go out and find exactly what I want. So, you know, and I think having my entire life on social media comes with a lot of hate and a lot of negativity around me moving a lot, but that's been me my entire life. Like I don't think I'll ever be somewhere permanently enough to call home. Like my home is everywhere. And I think I build the relationships everywhere I go that I can call someone from any town and say, hey, look, I need a huge favor. Can I stay on your couch? Sure thing, come past. Or do you know someone do you need nurses at the moment? Yep, we definitely do. So that's always, it was with mining. I used to move every 3 months because I would get stale. If I'm not learning, I leave.
Yeah.
Like I don't
So that
understand.
travel nursing is almost like the ultimate role
I
for
think
you, being able to
Yeah.
like go around. We got to dive into Derby and the prison work because, you know, I think that's a pretty adventurous role too, like
even-
pretty early on.
Even location wise, you know, some people won't know where that is. Can you
Yeah.
paint a picture of where it
So,
is, what
yeah,
it
for
is,
sure.
what's it like?
Derby is a small Kimberley town. If you know where Broome is, it's the kind of the most northern large town of Western Australia. And we're 2.5 hours inland from Broome. And it is predominantly Indigenous healthcare. Like 98% of your patients is Indigenous background. The odd, you know, white traveller or grey nomad coming past. But still a very booming town in a way. There's lots of businesses. There's lots of, obviously we've got what's classified as the sentence prison of the Kimberley. Broome has the remand prison, but with the overload now of prisoners, we've got a mix of both. We're probably half-half when I was at Derby's prison, and same with Broome. So I left Derby and went to Halls Creek Agency. And I loved it, but I missed my friends and I missed everything in Derby, and I thought I want to go back to Derby. So I left Derby for 2 months and then I did a UE on the freeway and I went back. And I went back and I got this prison job prior to leaving, and I said, no, I'm going to go do this travel nursing thing and that's what I want to do. And then I was like, oh, no, I miss everyone. And it was the dry. There's a lot of things on in the Kimberley in the dry season. So I went back. And I took this job at a prison, and now that has always been something that interests me, because Kalgoorlie's got a prison right on town, and we used to drive out there and sit in the car park and think, I wonder what's behind those gates.
Don't we drive out there, you and your mum or your
No,
friends?
me and my friends, and we would sit there because it's like all lit up. It's really but it's right on the edge of town, and I would think, I wonder what's going on in there. We used to do it with mine sites as well, like what's happening in there. I was so intrigued. Because it's so hush hush. It's like, you know, you've got to have special privileges to go in there. And I remember getting this job at a prison, and I thought, righto, rocking up, you know, you're not allowed your phone. You're not allowed, you've got to have a clear bag. You can't take in a water bottle that's not clear. All this stuff so that they can see through everything. And I remember rocking up, and you have to have this belt with like a radio and an alarm and keys. And I just thought I was the shit. I was like, yeah. And
You're like, I'm in a movie.
and it's so, and
this
you go through
costume's
the
better
big,
than the last one.
Yeah. Hi, Viz. No, thank you. But, and you get to the big gates, and it's like a big, thick gate with a big lock, and it like the man up in controls like unlocks it, and it slowly opens, and then it slams behind you, and you're like, I'm in a prison. And it was like, I just was always intrigued to know what prisoners were like. And yes, they're people, but they're people who have 24 hours a day to think about whatever they want to think and to manifest whatever they want to manifest. And they're, in a way, a lot of them, their way of thinking is so different to ours because they don't have a distraction. You can get on your phone, you can drive to the next cafe, you can talk to your kids or whatever that might be. But when you are in a prison, and you say to them, say, oh, yep, I'll get this done for you, and you haven't done it, they've had every second of the day to think about Hamish is going to do this for me. And then when you have gotten busy and not done it, that's like the worst thing in the world. Like you've just teared them apart. So I think stepping into that kind of prison scene, I thought I was going to save the world. I really did. I thought I'm going to come in here. I'm going to love it, you know, because it's Indigenous people. You know, 99% of people in there were Indigenous. I think we had 5 white people, you know, and like 3 Asian descent girls. So stepping in there, I thought I'm going to save the world. I'm going to make something amazing at this place because I will be able to connect with these people. And in a way I did. I built the trust very quickly within that kind of healthcare aspect, and probably in a way by pushing the boundaries a bit with the rules. Like there's rules for a reason, but I would push them a bit because I wanted them to get the best care. Where a lot of people would be
How would you push the boundaries?
By advocating for them completely to the point where I would get in trouble, because I think, why are we not giving them the best care? In a way, when we look at Indigenous people, I think there's sometimes we have a group of people who health education is very different to our health education. Health in general is very different to our health, and every aspect of health is very different to white Australians. So when we have them in an area like the prison where we can focus mainly on their health, we've got a target audience. I think, why are we not doing the utmost in that aspect to get everything done? You know, why are we not doing groups where people, hey, you haven't got these immunizations. I'm not forcing them upon you, but let's have a chat about it. Let's put a group together and let's get everyone this, let's get everyone that. So by the time they leave, whether it's they're in there for 2 months or 24 years, they're leaving a healthier person, and they're leaving not wanting to come back. When, unfortunately, it's very sad. When you look at Indigenous people, they have a long line of family members and relatives who have been in and out of prison. It's unfortunately classified as normal. It's not a scary thing for a lot of people, because they come into prison and they will list off 20 names to you when you first meet them. And I say, yeah, they're all in here. Oh, perfect. You haven't seen them in years. So there's a lot of family behind bars, and they've seen people go to prison. And it's where if I went to prison, I would be scared shitless. Like it would not be, because I don't really know many people that have gone to prison. So I think when we are looking at it as a whole, I went in there and I thought, how can I make a difference for the people that are here? How can I get them into the medical centre? How can I get them to trust me? And honestly, I just did that from all their requests. They put in some of the silliest requests, but yeah, sure, come in, let's have a chat about it. Where a lot of stuff would get disregarded. No, we don't have time for that. Why? Yeah. We're not busy.
And so it's predominantly primary health care. It's
Huge
almost like a GP clinic. And
who else are you working with?
So we had, depending on the day, either 2 or 3 nurses, a mental health specialist, and then the nurse unit manager was kind of who was in, and then you had your ward clerks who did the admin side of things. So, and then obviously always an officer, and they would shuffle the boys in. You'd kind of do the boys in the morning, and then the girls. But it just depended on what it wanted. And when I built that trust with the people in there, it got to the point where the girls would only want to see me. Now, Indigenous health in females is like men and women are polar opposites. So to have that respect from the women to only line up at the front of my door or say to the lady nurses, no, I don't want to see you. And it wasn't the fact that, they weren't, didn't have the skills to do Indigenous health because they're not from an Indigenous health background. It's the fact they didn't build the trust. The girls were happy for me to do examinations and talk about, private issues that they're going through, or they would write me a letter and we would discuss, what they're going through, because I took the time to sit there and speak with them.
It's that human element, isn't it? I think we've spoken to so many guests.
And it is a human element. It's listening. At the end of the day, nursing is all about listening. There is so much we can do by just talking to someone, and then, all of a sudden, all that pain that you came in for is gone, because that's not the reason you came here. You wanted to get something off your chest, and we've done that. And I think, unfortunately, what I have seen in that space is there is a lot of people who chase the money, because it is exceptional money when you come into a prison. But you are working with a demographic who need you there every second. They want to be able to be like, I know Hamish knows what he's doing, and I can trust him that if he says I'm only going for an x-ray, that's all I'm going for, because sending them out of the prison is a big ordeal. You know, some of these people have not been outside the walls in a long time. So going for an x-ray is like an excursion, even though it's 6 kilometres down the road. It's not that exciting. But going back into a hospital setting, they don't get to go in like us where we walk. They're shackled, hands and ankles. That's when they realise they're a prisoner again. While they're roaming free inside the prison, kicking the footy, you know, having a yarn with the boys under the tree, that's great, you know, having a durry. But then something happens where, oh, you've got a specialist appointment, or we've got to get that finger x-rayed, buddy, because I can't do anything more if, you know. Then, you know, in comes all the things, and you see it in their face drop that, oh, I've done bad things, you know, and that's why I'm in here. So I wanted to understand what we could do better in that kind of healthcare aspect, but also just that human aspect. And I think, although the job wasn't that exciting, I think if I was ever to go back into corrections, I would want to do like a kind of future planning role where I get to speak with them inside prison and then outside. I loved hanging out with them. Like, it's sad to say, but I would classify some of them as really good friends if I saw them on the outside. The people that and I know they've done bad things, but you push past that. You can't judge someone on what they've done, because I get to read what they've done, you know, for my own safety benefits when I am consulting someone. But in a hospital, when they come in their green outfit and officers, you don't know what they've done. They could have robbed a bank. They could have done something catastrophic. You don't know that. You treat them and present and, you know, treat the factors that they're presenting with, and that's all you do. You don't go, oh, what have they done? Because I'm now going to change how I act. So, you know, having people who have lit schools on fire or people who have murdered people, they're all people at the end of the day that need healthcare, that have issues, and that want the best, you know, outcome for themselves. So I remember the girls said to me, they said, Hamish, we're all getting fat. And I said, yeah, girls, you know, your boyfriends won't like you in your bikini when you get out after 6 months and you're eating the prison food. And they said, well, we're all getting fat and we don't want to. And I said, righto, well, let's start a jazzercise class. So I started jazzercise.
I was actually going to say, were you putting on shows?
Yeah.
So I started jazzercise class Saturdays and Sundays for the women.
Did anyone go other than you, or you did get a?
I made sure they were there. So I honestly just approached the assistant superintendent and I said, hey, look, the girls think they're getting fat. I think it would be very beneficial to get them up moving, because they're just sitting. Let's do something. Let's get them out in the sun, put some music on, have a good giggle, have some fruit after the class. And that's basically what we did. So Saturdays and Sundays I would go, now I'm not a jazzercise teacher, girls, but I said, I've got the background of a dancer.
I've come from Paris.
I will move around to some music. And I said, girls, you put in your song requests and we'll dance. And they loved it. You know, getting up, laughing, them all being in that kind of like fun. And we used to crank the shit out of the music. I said, because Unit 3 was like the locked boys unit right on Unit 4. And I said, now our one rule, girls, is we got to crank the music that loud so the boys would get really jealous. And then when I do med round, they'll ask me what the music was and I won't tell them.
Did you end up with the boys jazzercise class?
No, the boys got a lot inside prison. They got football and basketball and heaps. They got to go to education, where the girls, unfortunately, are segregated in their unit. And I felt really sorry for them because they weren't doing much. You know, they had a garden, whoopee-doo, you know, and they wanted more. And I said, well, I will, if you girls come, I will put this on. But if you stop coming, class is cancelled. You know, you got to put in as much effort as I'm putting in. And it started really high and then, you know, slowly weaned off until it got too hot for them.
So let's go from like jazzercise to drag queening.
Yes.
Like, first of all, what's your drag queen name?
So my drag queen name is Savannah Blanc, or Savvy B.
I believe we didn't get
Savvy
some
B.
I
We didn't
know,
get some
it's
Savvy
okay.
B. We've just given you that water, that town water over there.
Okay, it's Brisbane water's quite nice actually.
When did the drag shows start? And is it a one woman? One woman. I was about to go one woman. Yeah.
I mean, drag started when I was 18 in Sydney. I thought, I'm going to give that a whirl. And my drag show started when I came home for COVID. So I came home in, say, like March of 2020 and started this, you know, that mining, you know, adventure. And then by October, I said to my friend, I said, oh, I want to put on a drag trivia. Why not? And she said, yeah, do it. And I published the tickets and it was, no joke, sold out within about 20 minutes.
Wow.
And then I had to ring the venue and say, can I add on some more tables because we're completely sold out? And they were like, yeah. Now that I do my shows, so I now do a proper cabaret. So we've just sold out Derby and Kalgoorlie this year.
And is your vision to go to like Derby, work as a nurse and do your shows while you're there? Is that?
I think it's a lot easier if you go there and you meet the people and you make that connection within the town. Derby sold out in 5 seconds because
You knew them.
Yep, and I made sure I was very well known in the town in terms of providing healthcare and getting out and about and doing things. So then when I published tickets, it was like, oh my God, everyone will get around something and support it because it's unusual. Drag queens don't go to Derby. This one does.
This one does, yeah.
Well, that was the question, right? It's like, is that there loads travelling through, or you're it?
No, and I think that's why I love it. Why not push the boundaries? At the end of the day, if you don't, we're selling tickets. The tickets aren't cheap. They're $70 a ticket. For the show. People who don't like drag or don't like gay people are not paying $70. So I think whoopee-doo. Like if people at the pub go, oh, you shouldn't be here. I say, sorry, love. So show's sold out. Can't get your ticket. Because it shouldn't matter. Like I love doing it. And I'll go uptown in drag. I'll do a full pub crawl after the show in drag because I'm very confident in myself and who I am, that people's words or whatever they want to yell out, water off a duck's back. And I think that's probably my one teaching thing on my social media now is to push past that because people take a lot of things to heart. And I think the sooner you get rid of that, the sooner you will be like, I will feel very confident, doing a travel nurse contract out to Whoop Whoop as a gay man or going here and not having any friends and, walking into the pub being like, hey, I'm new, what's there to do here? And it's the same as that with drag. I love performing. I love telling my story and I love doing it in drag. I love to put on a great show and I like to go to places where people miss out on that. Yeah. There's gay people everywhere and there's people of LGBT, bubble everywhere we go and they enjoy it because they miss out on a lot there. You're not moving to Derby to find a husband, unfortunately, because it's very limited. But I can go there, be very happy with what I'm doing and say, hey, look, why don't I bring a drag show here and we put it on at the pub and we have a great night. And that's exactly what we did. And it blew up. Like I was on the phone with the girls while I was on the train. They said, oh, so when's the next show coming? Like everyone's talking about it still. So bringing shows to towns that don't necessarily get them is what I love. Perth, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, you can see a drag queen any day of the week.
Yeah.
Derby, never. That was the first show like that ever to go to Derby, which is
fabulous.
Just so much more special. And I think when people know it's me and everyone in the audience, the show's great because you can tell jokes with the people.
It's going to be more intimate too, like that connection with community.
And they you can bounce off each other because everyone's kids and where everyone works and, they're pissed as a fart and you can make a joke out of it. And then the whole audience knows them. So it's even funnier. So.
And you're going to keep doing it into 2025?
100%. I hope so at the moment it's me and I hire my two friends from Perth and we do like a 3-person show. It's mostly me and then they'll break it up with solos and duos and we'll do group numbers so, I can have a break and it's not just me. But so for the end of 2025, I would love to have my own one-woman show with a 3-piece band and it be about an hour cabaret. Yeah. And we'll probably start with the bigger cities per se. Just to get it out there and then take it. Because obviously traveling with a band is very expensive. So, and I think that's what people need to consider. Like if a ticket's $70, it's not $70 that's going in my bank account. A show is a lot of money to put on. So doing it rurally where nothing happens. So a $70 ticket is like, but in Perth where they could probably see a show similar for $40, they're like, oh, well, why would I go? So you need to get people to understand why they should come and pay that money for your show. So for the end of the year, that's what I would love. Yeah. A little one-woman show.
So a bit of travel nursing in between?
A bit of travel nursing, and we've got our first contract with you guys.
It's exciting. Yeah, welcome to the community.
Yeah. Welcome. I just want to jump into too, finding love in the bush, because I know you've done like a part A and a part B on,
Yes, finding love in the bush.
A lot of our younger nurses will talk about that. It can be hard.
It can be very hard. And I think it depends what you want to find. Sometimes you've got to put on, I call them your bush goggles. You're not where people, I do have to say people in the Gold Coast, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Where you head out bush and sometimes you've got to just put on your bush goggles a little bit because they're a little bit rougher.
Yeah.
They might be due for a haircut. Yeah. They might be due for a shave. So you've got to put on your bush goggles a bit, and people do become quite gorgeous once you put your bush goggles on, and then you might feel like, you know, going out for dinner with them. But you've got to remember, dinner places are very limited.
Yeah.
So if you're going on a date, the whole town knows.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're all seeing you at the pub on that
Yeah.
cute date in the corner having, you know, Friday night chicken palmy special.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think in terms of the gays, very limited gays. You do get in peak kind of dry season when there's lots of backpackers of such, because they all
There's
going
a lot
up
of
there.
events that happen and
Lots
pop
of
up in dry
events, and
season.
everyone's up doing their rural work to
Yeah.
extend their
Yeah.
contracts
Yeah.
to stay in Australia. So you will get your influx of people then. People who are just in the town, it's very limited, unfortunately. And do you know what? For some people, that's okay. And that I'm one of those people. Like, I'm not out there looking for love. I'm loving doing my own thing at the moment. But for people out there looking for love, it can be
It's a
challenging.
We
consideration.
might need to give in our merch packs some little cornerstone bush goggles.
Bush goggles.
Just
Got to
as a
put your
little
bush goggles on,
reminder.
girls. That's what I would
Yeah.
say.
Let's
Yeah.
talk social media.
Mhm.
You're about to hit the 100,000 followers
Yes.
by Christmas. We're hoping
That's the
that was
plan.
This, yeah.
Mhm.
So by the time this goes
by the time this
live,
goes live,
you'll be
We'll
well
be at
over.
110,000.
Well
Yeah,
over.
you'll be well. We won't even be talking. We're like a
No.
distant memory, which probably would make you a minor celebrity, I imagine. Like at that point,
I would
Like,
hope so.
really?
It's, I think people are beginning to realise who I am, which is great, because I love talking to people in that sense. I love when people come up to me and say, "Oh my God, I know you from socials," or "I really love your videos." And, you know, getting into social media was one video saying, "Today's my first day as a nurse and I am so excited." And I think it blew up because no one is excited about nursing.
That's what
such.
struck me when
Yeah,
I came
love
across
it.
you was the positivity.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can't wait to get to work. I'm
was
excited
so
to wear
excited.
my costume.
Talking about it, yeah.
When I saw registered nurse on my shirt, I thought, whoa.
Oh, mate, here we go.
I'm
It's been a
in.
long time.
I am part of the cool club. And it was. I put my scrubs on and I thought, whoa. And I was the float nurse. And I was like, I don't know what I'm in for. I said, but I've got a pen and I've got the time and I'll be ready to go. You know, I've got my little phone. Hello, Hamish, the float nurse.
Yeah.
And from there, it just took off. People were interested in why you get the, oh, give it 2 months and he'll hate nursing. And it's never been like that. I've never hated it. And I think I've never hated it because I in myself have the ability to move around. If I start to begin that I'm going to hate it, goodbye.
Next.
You know, let's go to the next adventure.
But it feels like you love people. And
I
think
love
it's
people.
The ideal role.
And I
to-
love sprinkling my joy and happiness everywhere I go and building relationships and networking. And that's just always who I've been. I've always been this kind of happy, positive, outgoing person, and being able to kind of go from place to place and start again. I love that. I love being the new person. Oh, I love it. Meeting everyone. I think saying hi is such like, I find it rude if people don't walk past me and say hi. Like, I'm like, oh, rude. Like, I'm always like, howdy, how's it going? Which people are like, oh my God, someone's spoken to me.
Yeah,
Like,
it's very different.
so,
now.
you know, now having this social media following is come with a lot of, I guess, criticism.
How do you deal with that? Because
Mm.
you'd have to have a thick skin
Hugely.
too.
or even,
like, there'd be
even
so much
boundaries
happiness.
Yes.
to preserve some sort of privacy or
My one tip for anyone wanting to go on social media is you need to show the world you every single aspect of your life, because they will find out regardless if you're not showing them. Privacy, yes, in a way that you need to be able to switch off, but people are interested in your life for a reason. So don't hide anything from them. I think if you hide things from them, they will find out. They will,
Yeah.
because you have serial followers and
Yeah.
messages and people who comment on everything. You know, people want to be the first commenter and they'll write, I'm the first commenter, like it's a big thing.
wow.
You know, where I would never comment on anyone's
No.
things. So I think if you're going to hide something from them, you've got to be really good at it, because they will find out. And it comes to the point where you either have to fess up and tell them, or you just tell them from the get-go. You know, like I've already told people I won't be traveling with Maverick as much, and I'm already copping a lot of heck for
Who's
that.
Maverick?
My gorgeous Labradoodle.
Oh,
I love him.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm already copping heck, but I like.
How do you cope with when they put the heck, like, you know, those comments? Do you just give them?
Well,
Like,
I always say, like, I don't know Lane Pole 66 who's calling me
Yeah.
toxic or ugly. You
Yeah.
know, like, I just think if you're allowing that to affect you, don't be on social media,
yeah.
because you don't know these people at all and you are going to cop it. You know, don't ever look your name up in Reddit unless you want to giggle. Like, if you can laugh about it, go for it. But if it is something that affects you, it's not a job for you,
Yeah.
because you're always, people are always going to come for you. And if you're happy, love what you're doing and confident, people are going to come for you even more.
Yeah,
You
that's
must have
so
to charge
true.
your phone like 6 times a day.
Always. And I think
I mean, I
that's-
can't even take a photo today because
No,
my
your
storage is
storage
full.
is
How do
full,
you?
dull.
That's because you're
Full.
older. You've got 20 more
Maybe it's
years
because
of
I'm just so
storage.
present online. How do you even manage that? Because you must take a lot of video.
I
Did
am
the
now-
ideas come all that, like, are you just constantly...
I feel like I'm evolving with it. Like I started not being a phone person. I hated being on my phone. I hated when people were on their phone at a table. Now I am that person. Because it's a second job and I love it. I love it as much as I love nursing because I love being online. There's something about it that I'm like, that is so me. Like this today, microphone, this is so me. So pushing past that, like I said, you would feel awkward filming at Woolies. You get pretty used to that. I'll go to a gym with all these like beautiful, muscly guys and me like trying to lift a weight and I'll film myself and people are thinking, why on earth are you filming yourself? But you just push past it. You think they're going to look at you for 5 seconds and think, oh, he's filming himself. And then they forget about it. Like you can't. And you can kind of see it when you watch people's content if they're nervous about filming in a public space because you'll see it in their face that they're kind of rushing or you just got to do it. Like people, I don't think care that much. Like we probably think they care more than they actually do.
But it's also good, I think, from the nursing perspective, like that awareness, people hearing about, that the video that you did about working in the prison, I think there'd be so many nurses that would watch that and it would create a conversation that if we can get more nurses out to these remote areas and Halls Creek, Derby, all those places.
And that's why I love filming and putting it online because there's nothing, you can't Google what's it like to be a nurse in Halls Creek or what's it like to be a nurse in, Bidjidanga. It doesn't just appear, like what's it like to be a mechanic. Sure, million stuff's going to come up about that because you've not got much choice. But for us healthcare workers, every aspect of a community is different from one state to the other, from 100 kilometres to 1 kilometre away. They're all got their own differences. So people talking about it and putting it online now gives people like, oh, I'm going to go through Hamish's stuff because he did a whole lot on living in Halls Creek and what is there to do. And I will be honest and I'll say there's nothing to do. You've got to make your own fun. You've got to make friends with people.
But people can then decide whether that's for them or not.
Yeah.
And
that's the best part about it. Then they can decide rather than, rocking up and they're like, oh my God, what have I'm here for 6 weeks. I'm, hate it.
Saw another nurse even like posting the nursing quarters, check out the bedding, so people have a bit of a clue of
and people want to know that stuff before they get themselves into it. Unless you're an adventurer and you're just like, hey, give me whatever you've got. There's not a lot of people like that. They want to know a breakdown, a step for step. And that's why, when, healthcare centres get like, oh, you're not allowed to post. I think me posting is bringing more people here. Me enlightening people on, this is all you've got is IGA. Come look at the prices. So people are aware it's going to cost you $20 for a packet of mints, not $6 like at Woolies. Yeah. So I think in terms of my social media, I have been able to kind of bring a light to nursing, bring a light to grad nurses who, they say everyone gets eaten by their young, which, is true. But like I say to them, push through. It's your degree at the end of the day. It's your piece of paper and you can do whatever you want with that piece of paper. And I think...
on that just tips like that you would have for, grads going out to these remote communities to make the most of it?
Is do it. And I think is getting used to not having a lot because you don't have a lot out there. You might not have a gym. You might not have safe streets to walk around. And that's the real aspect of it. Some of these places are very dangerous. And they are very dangerous for, unfortunately, women. I feel very safe as a man, even though I'm a gay man, to go to these places because in Indigenous communities, I don't feel like gay is an issue because there's a lot of trans people and there's a lot of kind of LGBT aspect of their beliefs and culture, where for women, I think it is very, very different. And having the ability to explain to someone where you're going is going to be great and you're going to learn some skills you're never going to learn anywhere else and see some things you're never going to see in white healthcare. But the aspects of it are you might be bored out of your brains. There's one shop, that closes at 3 p.m. So get in quick. And then, if the truck can't come, well, the truck can't come. And some of the places you go might be quite dangerous. So learn and listen to what the people are saying. Never be a legend. That's my No one's a legend. That's what I tell everyone online. No one is a legend. If you think you're a legend, you're already in the wrong boat, because you got to go there and learn from the people that live there every day. And if they say, don't go there, don't go, oh, why not? Don't go there. You know what I mean? Don't push the boundaries, because that's when bad things will happen. And I think there's so many beautiful places to go to, so many people that you can touch and help. And I think just having a little bit of understanding on what you're getting yourself into prior is going to help you in the long run. And I think us, people who are on social media, like Indy and all those other great nurses on social media, we have the ability to post it and let you, like, just a bit of intel is better than nothing.
Absolutely.
So I guess where to now?
Yeah, that's the exciting
what's
question.
What's the 2025?
2025, I feel like it's going to be a very busy year for me.
Yeah.
I'm feeling busy already.
Staying on the Gold Coast?
So I would like to reside on the Gold Coast. I've changed my metro to casual, which has all happened already. So that starts basically when I start my contract with you guys, which I'm going to Cal in South Australia. So that will be exciting. So I am planning on, obviously, now that I have the ability to kind of say go to a contract for 6 weeks, have 2-3 weeks off, I can push my social media in a way I want to push it. Although I'm very healthcare based, I would like to push it in a way that I'm more of a household name, is where I'm kind of directing my socials as well. And I think just getting out there, I would love to start my training for RAN nursing. I think that's my calling, out in the bush, Although hospital nursing is fabulous, I love being out in the bush. And so that's kind of where I want to end up, is doing ranning, and hopefully, like, long-term goal would be RFDS. That's the kind of big picture goal in terms of healthcare, because then I can fly anywhere.
Yeah.
Here, there and everywhere, but I honestly, I feel like 2025 is going to be busy, and I already feel better about kind of leaving that metro space and doing something that I'm happy and passionate about. And although that was nursing, but it wasn't my type of nursing. My type of nursing is in smaller places with predominantly Indigenous people and doing that aspect of my job. So that's kind of what I've got in store for 2025.
I love that you try things, though. I feel like you need to try it yourself, but you need to then know.
And that was what Metro was about. I gave it a good crack.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it was a waste of time moving, because I love being over this side of the world. Like I said, I can go anywhere now, and I can fly to wherever. Where if you live in Derby and do a contract from there, it's very tricky for you guys to be like, yeah, we'll get you somewhere.
Over,
like,
it's your podcast,
exactly. And now I have the ability to, like, I just sat on the train and come. Like, it was wonderful. So I don't think it's been a bad move. It's opened my eyes up into kind of where I want to be as a nurse. And I've met some great nurses at the Metro Hospital, and I think I have inspired a lot of them to go and do bush stuff, because I speak about it all the time. And they're always like, I don't know if I'm ready for it. I said, love, you've been at this hospital 8 years working ED. You're ready for it. Yeah, and, you just go do a small contract somewhere that's not, like Kalgoorlie. Obviously, I'm from there and I love it. But that's a big hospital still, in my opinion, with predominantly Indigenous people coming through it. So that you're getting the best of both worlds, where you've still got X-ray and CT and ultrasound. You're not going to somewhere that's got none of those, and you've got to, kind of think.
kind of scaffold that journey a little bit.
Yeah, and then you can get smaller and smaller from there, and more remote if you enjoy it. If not, go to all the kind of rural, bigger hospitals that are, not, Gold Coast Uni Hospital that has every specialty under the sun, but go to some that, maybe cardiologist comes out once every 3 months and work on it in that sense. And I mean, just from being a nurse, we all know how much work is out there. There's endless amounts of work in every aspect. And I think that'd be my favorite part of the job, is there is so much work. You will never have a day where you don't have work. If you want to work every day of the year, make it happen. So that's a great part. And I think for grads getting out there, always know that if you are not enjoying what you're doing, don't push through. I always say, why push through and because everyone else says you've got to do it. No, think outside the box. How am I going to make them hire me? You're going to write a bloody good cover letter. You're going to tell them why they should hire you. You've got to hustle at the end of the day. I always think the job is not going to find you. You've got to find the job. So, and a lot of people say, I hate working, say, Gen Med. Okay, well, figure out how you can get out of Gen Med, say, in 3 months.
Yeah.
You don't just go cold turkey and then have no job. You need a job before you quit your next job. That's how it should work.
Need to talk to us and we'll help.
Exactly. And like there's so much work out there. So I think just give it a go. Like if you don't give it a go, you can't say you just have no words to speak about it. You know, you've got to give it a crack before you can have a whinge or say you love it, really.
Fantastic.
So look, with every episode, we're donating to a charity.
Yes.
Where are we donating for you?
So I had a thought about this, and we have
like, I don't have a foundation yet.
No, but we are going to go with the Royal Flying Doctor Service. Obviously, that one day is my goal, to be up there in the plane. And also, you know, working rural, you do work very closely with RFDS, you know, getting your patients to the next point of care. So I would love for that to be donated to them.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. Hamish, thank you so much.
Thank
Honestly,
you.
we could have sat here and talked to you
For hours.
I feel like we're going to have to do a part A and a part B. I feel like I had to keep like, oh my God, there's so many things. Stop asking
You've
these
lived a
questions.
life for 24.
I know,
it's incredible.
It's been a busy life.
It's incredible.
But we're not slowing down anytime soon, that's for sure.
No, and you are so inspiring. I know there's going to be so many people that hear this episode and just the energy, the positivity, like you are literally a ray of sunshine. And thank you so much for making the trek up on the train. I probably wouldn't have done it. So I really...
It's quite fun, actually. I listen to your
appreciate
podcast while I come up.
Oh, well, there you go.
Works in my favour.
Yeah, look, well, now this will be a long one. Someone could go to Sydney and back on a plane.
Exactly.
But no, we so appreciated your time. Thank you.
No,
and
thank you.
all the best with all of these great opportunities. And hopefully we get to see a drag show of yours.
Yeah.
There'll be one.
When
Don't
you're
you
working
worry.
out on contract, we might have to sponsor it for you. So
Yeah, do a
watch
drag
that
show in the
space.
bush.
Thank you.
Thanks, girls.
Thanks for tuning into It Takes Heart. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend.
And if you know someone with a great story in healthcare, get in touch. Follow us on socials for all the behind the scenes fun, and we'll see you next time.